Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Members of council, committee of adjustment members, staff, and the public. Welcome to the June 15th, 2020 committee of adjustment meeting. I'd like to get someone to call the meeting to order. Moved by Sam, second by Martin, that the committee of adjustment is called to order. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Can I get approval of the agenda as presented? Moved by Frank and second by Sam. All those in favor of the agenda as presented? Carried. I'll take, well, I'll give you a minute or two to review the minutes from our last meeting dated the 19th of May. They were included in your package. All right. That being said, are there any questions? That being said, can I get a mover and seconder to approve the minutes as presented? Moved by Sam, second by Martin. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented? Carried. Thank you very much. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Miss Haley, A11-20 Matar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to share my screen to start my presentations. Okay, just one moment. Sorry about that. Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm just finding my screen here. I can't even get it to stop sharing. Look at this. Okay, it's not letting me make it big. Sorry, Mr. Deputy Mayor, just opening up. Right here? No, where the little camera is, yes. Click that. Click the other one. What one did you grab? Just make everything small. I'm just, it looks like I have two screens open. So just trying to figure this. As soon as I went to share a screen, something happened. I'm just not sharing.
Technology is wonderful when it works.
Yeah, the administrator is just going to I think, log me out and log me back in.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what's going on here. We were on a Zoom meeting earlier, so it may be picking up a different screen. There we go. Okay, how does that look for everyone?
Looks good to me. Thank you.
Perfect. I'm very sorry about that. So we'll get started. So for the individuals that are joining our meeting by Zoom or by phone, you will be permitted to speak to your respective application following my presentation. And we request that prior to speaking, please state your name and your address for the record and for the minute taking. So now I'm going to read the requirements under the Ontario Planning Act. And this is verbiage that's required to be read in advance of every public meeting. So this is a hearing under Section 44 of the Ontario Planning Act. Any person may attend this hearing and or make written or verbal representation either in support of or in opposition to the proposed minor variance. If a person or public body does not make oral or written submissions at this hearing before the variance is decided upon, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the minor variance of the Committee of Adjustment to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, also known as LPAT. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a hearing or make written submissions to the Committee of Adjustment or the Township of South Glengarry before the variance is decided upon, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the LPAT unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. So we're now going to start with our first application this evening, which is A1120. This property is located on Lot 8, Registered Plan 14M5, which is also known as Sapphire Estate Subdivision, in the geographic township of Charlottenburg, now in South Glengarry, and it's also known as 6547 Sapphire Drive. The subject property is 0.72 acres in size. And this is a map. The area that's highlighted in light blue is the property that we're speaking of for the meeting this evening. The purpose of the minor variance is the applicant has placed a storage container on the subject property for non-residential storage purposes. A complaint was received by a member of the public, which triggered the requirement of a minor variance or the removal of the container. The individuals requested permission to have the container remain on the property. Therefore, the following permission requested is to permit a shipping container in a residential zone to be used as an accessory detached garage. I have in here a definition of shipping containers so we know what we're speaking about. It means a container with strength suitable to withstand shipment, storage, and handling. Shipping containers range from large reusable steel boxes used for intermodal shipments to corrugated boxes. This shipping container is something that you would see on a train or a ship. We also have a general provision in our zoning bylaw that says shipping containers shall not be permitted in any zone, save and except industrial zones and in the agricultural zone for agricultural use only, and must be located within the rear yard. So the shipping container that is currently placed on the subject property is 40 feet in length and 8 feet in width. It's located in the rear yard currently. It's in a different location than what is shown on the site plan. So on the site plan, the members of the Committee of Adjustment can see that that plan. I believe if this is approved, the property owner would relocate the orientation of the shipping container as it's currently placed going going north-south. And you'll see on the proposed site plan that it's proposed to be located east-west. The shipping container is visible only from the properties to the south and the north. The northern and eastern properties are currently vacant. However, the property to the north is a registered plan of subdivision, and the property to the east has a draft plan of subdivision approval, and therefore these properties will be developed someday. The property is designated rural settlement area in the county official plan. The application conforms to the general intent of the official plan, as the document does not regulate the type of structures. It really regulates the use, and this is in a residential area. The property is zoned residential 1, and the application does not conform to the general intent of the zoning bylaw, as shipping containers are permitted in the industrial zones and agricultural zone for an agricultural use only. Also, accessory structures in a residential zone are to be used for residential purposes only, not for the storage of other products. And I've received no formal or written comments from the public to date. However, I received one phone call expressing the concerns, and of course, the written complaint that led to the applicant applying for the variance. And if this application is approved, a building permit will be required to be applied for and issued as the structure is over 100 square feet. And it also has to conform to the setbacks of our current zoning bylaw. So just to remind the committee, when making a decision on a minor variance, applications are to be evaluated on 4 tests according to the Planning Act. They are, is it minor in nature? Is the application desirable for the appropriate development of the lands in question? Does the application conform to the general intent of the zoning bylaw? And does the application conform to the general intent of the official plan? In my opinion, the application does not conform to 2 of the 4 tests and possibly 3, depending on how, depending on if the application is considered minor in nature, and that's subjective to the committee's opinion. And the plan, just to reiterate, planning does not support this application, as it is not good planning to locate storage containers in a residential zone, especially within a subdivision. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Joanne. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for going back to the regular screen. I have a comment, but I will let Mayor Prevost speak first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of comments to the question. I did meet on the property approximately a week ago, I guess, in regards to seeing where the structure was and what it looked like. The structure is running east and west at this point. It is behind the garage. I did have a conversation with the owner at the time and stated my opinion, where I don't personally believe that we would certainly agree in respect of leaving it there permanently. But Joanna, my question would be, can we offer a temporary use permit? And the only reason I'm asking that question is based on COVID-19, his business is down. As we all know, most businesses are. If his business was operated like it did in 2019, the owner of the property would have built onto the garage, and the structure probably wouldn't be existing on the property as today. So he would be in favor of leaving it there for up to 3 years. He would side the exterior of it to make it look like a building, at least instead of a container, and it would give him the opportunity to get his business back up and running the way it's supposed to be, and then opportunity to put money away to expand onto his garage at that time, and then the building or that structure would be removed no later than up to a 3-year period. If you can answer that question, Mrs. Healy.
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair. So in order to do a temporary use permit, that is required, or that is possible. The applicant would be required to apply for a temporary use bylaw. Unfortunately, that can't be done through the minor variance process or by the Committee of Adjustment. That's actually a form of a zoning amendment, and it's approved by council. So it's a completely different process where the applicant would apply and we would follow the similar process of the zoning amendment. I just want to clarify something. There is not a business currently being operated on the site. The applicant sold his business, and that's why the storage is occurring there. I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that it wasn't because of a business operating on site.
So just a quick question, Joanne, if we turn it down this evening here, so he can apply for that temporary use permit and it won't affect in regards to not allowing him to maybe get that if council approves it at a council meeting?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct. Tonight's decision would have nothing to do with that application.
Okay, so tonight is more for permanent use, and
yes, minor variance is
one. The temporary.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Yes, I also drove by and had a look at the container, and I would agree with our mayor that at the moment, I don't think it's a terrible thing to have it there. There's only one property to the south that can see it, but as the other properties are developed, I don't think it's the place for it. So I would be in agreement that it would be something that you would want temporary, for a year or so, but not permanently. So if we pass this, then I suspect that then that permanently is allowed to stay on that property. Is that correct? Yeah.
That is correct.
Okay.
A
better move for him would be to do something temporary, and then I would agree with it.
Yeah, I agree. I hate to see us potentially getting in the way of someone having a successful business. However, I don't think it's the proper place for it. It's a built-up subdivision, and I mean, if he's potentially having trucks go in there to deliver product, it's not the place that we should be permitting something to be done permanently. So if there's something that we can do to allow him on a temporary basis with an end date, I'd be comfortable with that, but I'm not in favor of approving this minor variance as presented. Are there any, Councillor McDonnell or Jaworski, would you guys like to have anything to say, or Sam?
I agree with what's been said around here. I have no issue making it a temporary solution for somebody. I just, in the long term, if I'm not mistaken, if we approve this, that also carries on to the next homeowner. They could potentially put, we don't know what the future will bring if this gentleman sells the home, and then what somebody else decides to do with shipping containers in the yard. So I'd prefer to see something with an end date, but I'm more than happy to pass that on a temporary basis.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Councillor Jaworski?
Sure. I support what's been said so far, that I'm supportive of a temporary solution, but I'm 100% against a permanent solution. I don't think that's what the residents in that area want. There used to be a trailer just north of there, and I know when I was going through that subdivision, there was a lot of comments about the trailer that was just north of there. So I think, this is not what that community is looking for in their backyard. But on a temporary basis to help this person out, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Seeing the time period that we're in with the COVID, I think if we can help them out on for a temporary solution, I think we're all in support of that. Okay, so I guess, are there any comments from the public? Do we have anybody from the public who would like to state anything, Kaylin? Or do we, I think you had mentioned that there's somebody on the phone.
Yeah, and I'm not sure who it is, so I'm just going to ask them to speak so we can see who.
Yep, thank you.
This is Roger Matar.
Good afternoon. Could you
hi.
state your name, sir? I didn't hear you.
Oh, it's Mr.
Roger
Matar.
Matar. Yeah, I'm the
okay.
property owner.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Actually, thank you for the meeting. My intention was to do it permanent, but just I want to do some correction regarding comment Joanne said about the business. The business I have two different businesses. One of them was in Bainesville. We own a property on exit 825. And in a matter of like 3 years, we lost over $250,000 over there. So we were forced to sell this business. But we still have another business, which is a transport business with the COVID-19 for 3 months now. Actually, most of our trucks is parked in the yard here in Cornwall, and we're losing money again in this side too. So actually, with the COVID, we got hit really hard. So this is the only solution. And this container was in Bainesville. So when we moved it here, we moved all our stuff and use it as a storage. Our intention is to cover it, and even if we apply for permit and we get a garage extended in the future, in a couple of years, hopefully business will pick up again like before, and then we'll be able to build or extend our garage to 1,060 square feet, whatever allowed. Pretty much it will look the same from outside. Even a container now will be covered and will looks like a garage. So not even anybody will notice that it is a container and not just a regular garage. Just to give you an idea what we are like intention. I know when we moved from Basel, we moved some trailers, and yes, we had in the backyard few small trailers which we had, but everything already was removed now when we rented a spot in Cornwall again here to find a place to park it. So basically in the back only left the container and a few little things which will be cleared in a matter of like, a month or so.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Matar, does anyone have any questions for the applicant? Seeing none. Joanne, is the building department on the line? I was just curious to know, like, let's say we were to go ahead and approve this, what would be the process for Mr. Matar to have that made into a permanent structure? Would he have to put a cement base across the whole bottom of it? Is there any indication of the process for that?
Yes, I'm aware of that process, Mr. Chair. So the answer to that is no. It's treated very similarly to buying let's say a garden shed at Home Depot or Costco, where you have a floor, 4 walls, and a roof. The only thing that is required when it comes to storage containers is you do need an engineer's stamp on the design, because the storage containers aren't meant for any other use other than shipping. So when you have human occupancy going out, removing products, and now it's on a residential property, that's the reason. But it would be very similar to, as I mentioned, buying a shed. Even some of those sheds that you buy in the Home Depot stores or home improvement stores require engineers as well, because they're outside of the norm of the building code. They fall under the alternative designs.
Yeah, we actually had a delegation with, I forget which ministry it was, Mr. Mayor can attest to this. And we said to them, you shouldn't be permitting permits or stores to sell products that aren't even CSA approved, because, people are buying them in good faith, thinking they're buying a product that's legal. And then when our building department shows up because it requires a permit, you need to get engineered drawings because it doesn't conform. So it's we had a delegation in regards to that. So it was quite educational. Okay, so that all being said, the sentiment around the table was to not approve this message. So I guess, yes, Mr. Mayor, did you want to say something?
Just a quick comment just for Mr. Maytar, basically, is that it doesn't sound like it's going to be supportive this evening in regards to leaving it there permanently, but I would suggest that he meets with Joanne and applies for a temporary use permit. And there's got to be clauses in there in regards to what the building has to look like. I think it has to be sided and make it look like as if it's attached to the building. And then up to I'm saying a 3-year period, but that'll be council's decision at some point. But that's my suggestion after this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so.
Mr. Matar has his hand up.
Oh, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Matar. He's muted.
Yeah, I'm working.
You're live, Mr. Matar.
Okay, just for a quick note, there's no shipments or no trucks gonna come here to deliver or to pick up any products. We do not run a business from home. We have only office. My wife's work from home, and all operation has nothing to do with the house, because we rented a store actually from Mr. William Lang in Cornwall, and we have a big not storage but a store. We put everything we want to receive and sell and buy from this store on 4th Street, actually in downtown Cornwall. So there's no shipping or receiving or anything will happen from this location whatsoever.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so I guess all those in favor of the motion as presented? Although, yes, Joanne, Ms. Haley, I'm sorry.
If there was a motion on the table, I'm sorry, I did not get a motion, so I haven't recorded the motion.
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
I'm not sure how I'm not sure how to handle this in a dissension. So
what I would recommend, what I would recommend, Mr. Chair, is to seek a motion on the table to approve or refuse the application, and then go from there.
Okay. Moved by Frank, second by Martin, to approve as presented.
No.
Well, we can vote no.
No, I'm putting a motion forward that we refuse the application.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor of refusing or not approving the application as presented? Okay, motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, thank you for your time, Mr. Maytar. We appreciate you phoning in and giving us your comments.
Yes,
okay, moving on to the next one here. Just give me a second. I apologize. I got multiple screens. A1220 Coral Roof Trust Inc. Ms. Haley.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. This property is located at part of Lot 18, concession to Indian Lands, in the geographic township of Charlottenburg, now in South Glengarry, also known as 900 Boundary Road, which is the location of Coral Roof Trust Inc. So this green area in here is the subject property. And the purpose of the application is the applicant proposes to construct an addition to the existing building known as Assembly Shop 2, which I'll show in a minute. The following relief is requested from the zoning bylaw to reduce the interior side yard setback from 6 meters to 0.91 meters to permit a proposed addition to the existing assembly shop known as number 2. This is the site plan that was provided to us by the applicant. This is Boundary Road in this location. For those of you who can see my mouse, you'll see this is an existing assembly shop 1, existing assembly shop 2, and then the area highlighted in small narrow lined hatching that I've squared in red is the location of the proposed addition. So you can see that they're following kind of the same established building line as the existing structure. The only thing I could think of when these structures were built many years ago, in the 1997 Charlottenburg Township zoning bylaw, they wouldn't have met the setbacks then. So we're wondering if these buildings predated that bylaw, and who knows what setbacks there were back then. And there could have been lot line adjustments done at that time as well, because to have a structure located 3 feet from a property line would be pretty rare in a commercial zone. So the property is designated employment district in the official plan and conforms to the general intent of the official plan. The property is zoned highway commercial with some floodplain holding and conforms to the general intent of the zoning bylaw. The application was circulated to the City of Cornwall as well as the Raisin Region Conservation Authority. The reason why it was circulated to the Conservation Authority is because of the floodplain in that area on Boundary Road. The RSCA had no objections to the proposed variance as it wasn't located entirely in the floodplain and it's on an existing developed property. And the City of Cornwall has no objections or comments on the proposed minor variance either. I've received no formal, oral, or written comments from the public to date, and planning and building have no concerns with the proposed variances. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Joanne, thank you very much. It's always nice when we see applications for expanding production and potentially maybe new jobs. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment. I agree with you 100%. It's nice to see commercial buildings being constructed larger than going smaller. I have no issue with this application only based on it's in a commercial area and everything around it is commercial, and anything actually even to the east of that at any point would be also commercial. So I'm not, I have no objections to this application at all. Thank you.
Perfect. Ms. Haley, I'd also like to make a comment. I appreciated receiving the comments from the RRCA the other day. So please thank, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her last, Ms. McDonald.
Yes, I will.
For Kimberly for getting them in sooner. I appreciated that. So are there any comments from, yep, Ms. Jaworski?
Sure, just quickly, just to echo what you both have said, Mayor Provo, Deputy Mayor Warden. The other thing I'd like to add is that the fact that it's following the existing line of the building means that really it's very little impact on the neighbors as well. So it's like it's not out of the ordinary, it's not unexpected.
Yep. Okay, so seeing no further comments, are there any comments from, Councillor Lang?
I may have jumped the gun. You were just saying no more comments, so I was going to make a motion to pass. But if the public has comments, I will hold the motion off.
I was just going to ask if there were any other members of the public present who would like to make a comment. Seeing none, can I get a mover to present, approve as presented? Moved by Councillor Lang, second by Councillor McDonnell. All those in favor to approve as presented? Carried. Okay, moving along. Item number A13-20, Arsenault and Menard. Ms. Haley.
Okay, so this is our last application for this evening. This property is legally described as part of Lot 9 in Block A, Registered Plan 110 in the geographic township of Charlottenburg. It's also located on County Road 27, and the property is 0.73 acres in size and is privately serviced. You can see the highlighted area of the subject property and is directly across the road from a subdivision that we call Summerstown Estates. The purpose of the minor variance is the applicant proposes to construct a residential garage on the subject property and would like to increase the maximum height from 4.5 meters to 7 meters and increase the maximum gross floor area from 100 square meters to 162.5 square meters. You can see the site plan that's been provided. This is County Road 27. This is the existing 1,800 square foot residence. The septic system is in the front yard, and the proposed detached garage is proposed to be located on the north side of the property. The United Counties was circulated on this application, and based on their policies and bylaws, they weren't able to support a new entrance to provide a second entrance directly to this garage. So the applicants are aware of this, and they've designed it so that they can access the garage from the rear of their property. The property is designated rural settlement area because it falls in the rural settlement area of Summerstown and conforms to the general intent of the official plan. The property is zoned, Presidential 1, and the minor variance conforms to the general intent of the zoning bylaw. It'll just be up to the committee if they feel this application is minor in nature or not. As I mentioned, the United Counties would not grant a new entrance off of the county road. However, they had no other negative comments towards the proposed variance. I've received no formal oral or written comments from the public to date, and we have no concerns with the proposed minor variance from a planning and building perspective. So it'll be up to the committee to approve or refuse the application. Any questions?
I was just reviewing it. My email froze. Are there any questions from committee members? Are there any members of the public who may have questions for this? Oh, somebody has raised their hand, saying it's Brock Wilson. Go ahead, Brock. Hello? No. His mic was muted again.
Yeah,
I think
sorry,
if-
it's
I think
coming.
he's the
Here,
engineer.
I'm asking him to come back as a panelist. Just a second.
I think he's the engineer, or drawn by the looks of it.
It's you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Wilson is the agent for the application and also the designer for the proposed garage.
Okay.
And he can speak
Mr.
now.
Wilson, are you there? That's kind of funny. Made me think of Dennis the Menace. Mr. Wilson.
Hello, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, Brock.
Can you
How's it
hear
going?
me?
Yes, sir.
I'm having some issues, sorry, okay. I just wanted to raise a question to Deputy Mayor Warden Prevost, just with the fact that we did reach out to the SDNG counties, and Mr. DeHaan, who is the Director of Transportation and Planning, had mentioned that they will not accept a secondary entrance, rather that Mr. Warden Prevost, Deputy Mayor, may allow this this secondary entrance to this area. I believe the owner has reached out to the mayor requesting this review, and I was wondering if he had any comments on that.
Thank you for those comments, Mr. Wilson. I'm not aware of any such comments. I'll hand it over to the mayor, Mr. Prevost.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Wilson, the client has not been in touch with me. I've been in contact though with Ben at the county level. So following the policies, the counties cannot pass that, but the homeowner has the right to apply to county council as a presentation in respect of asking for that second entrance. My personal opinion to Mr. DeHaan was that I didn't see it to be a major issue, but that's not my only decision to be made. Unfortunately, there's 11 other people around the table, but I would suggest that the homeowner or yourself gets a hold of the counties and suggest a presentation at our upcoming meeting, and the council's decision in regards to allowing that second entrance or not.
Correct. That's a decision of county council as a whole. I see there's Yannick Menard has their hand up as well. I'm assuming that may be the applicant.
Yep, go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, hi, how are you?
Good, yourself. It's Nathaniel Arsenault, the homeowner, as well as Yannick Menard. Just calling, I want to say that I did reach out. I did send an email to Mayor Prevost. I'll recheck to make sure it got sent, but I know I sent one out, so I'll have to recheck it. I do apologize if you didn't receive it yet.
Okay. Were there any other comments, Mr. Arsenault?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions of committee members? Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Warden. Just since we have Mr. Menard on the line, I guess it is a very large garage, like just shy of the size of the house. So I was just wondering if there was any unique circumstances as to why they were applying for such a large garage.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. We do have a fifth wheel camper that we'd like to store inside. I moved out to the country to build a big garage. So I had a garage when we lived in the city of Cornwall. I've always wanted to live out in the country and have a bigger shop so I could have room for, like, I have couple of cars, 4-wheeler stuff that I want to work on or whatever. So I like the space to have, because my garage that I did have was smaller, probably half the size.
It'd be nice to be able to store the Camaro in the winter in the garage.
Yeah, my car stayed outside, so it's got some weather damage and such.
Oh, this is all personal use.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jaworski. Councillor McDonnell?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have no issue with it. And I mean, I don't think if there's no other comments, I'd move to approve. I would like to have a garage that big.
Yeah. I'll start with the Camaro.
Yeah.
You do.
Okay, so moved by Councillor McDonnell. Can I get a seconder to approve, Councillor Lang, to approve as presented? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Arsenault and Mrs. Menard. Ms. Menard.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Ms. Haley, our next meeting is scheduled for next Monday at 6 p.m.
At 5 p.m. through you.
Oh,
Mr.
sorry. Yes, my bad. Excuse me. Yeah.
problem.
Okay, so with that being said, I believe we are finished of this current meeting. Was there any other comments anybody had to add? Seeing none, moved by Sam, second by Frank, that the meeting is adjourned at 5:37 p.m. All those in favor? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, guys. We'll see you in about 23 minutes.